right, when we're talking about using reinforcement effectively, I specifically just talked about the first one because I wanted to talk about terminal behavior, but the other ones are so good, and we'll hit the highlights of those. But the first one says specify desired behaviors at the onset. What do you want out of your students? Tell them. If they don't know, how can you expect them to act accordingly or do accordingly? So before beginning a lesson or behavioral intervention, behaviorists identify the desired end results, the terminal behaviors in specific concrete, observable terms. This is what I want to see, whatever that is. This is what I want you to do. This is what I expect for you to accomplish. Those kind of things. By specifying terminal behavior up front, we give both ourselves and our students targets to shoot for, and we can better determine whether everyone's making progress. Are we moving? Are we not? You're going to know if you've already set those goals, set them up for the students. If a teacher's using terminal behavior when teaching a lesson, he or she would identify the things students should be able to do at the end of the lesson. So you're telling, when all is said and done and the day is wrapped up, or the week, the unit, whatever it is, when it's all wrapped up, what should the students be able to do at the end of that? That is the terminal behavior. All right, as we look at the book, though, you can see how I've highlighted other pieces in there as well. Make sure that all students regularly receive reinforcement for desired behavior. Be consistent with all of them. I remember Mr. Seal Killerman who reminded me that I hadn't let him take the lunch count down to the cafeteria any. Well, he was right. No, I hadn't, because he wasn't supposed to be anywhere by himself. But I remember the day I allowed him to go, I gave strict terminal behavior instructions, what I expected him to do on the route, and how I'm expecting him to be back in that room, not touching anybody, not doing anything. So students know. So give everybody the equal opportunity, even if that means sending a buddy. Use extrinsic reinforcers only when desired behaviors will not otherwise occur. And I've got some things highlighted there. When students struggle with a task and encounter frequent failure, we should probably provide some extrinsic reinforcements, praise, free time, etc. for any small improvements. That's that reinforcement. Remember, I've done that to you. When we all got overwhelmed week 4 or week 5, and I agreed to back off on so many notes, and we all agreed on some ways we could fix some things. I did that very thing to you, to reinforce, to keep positive. And if you stop and think about it, I try to brag and praise you when you deserve it, probably not as often as I should, but it feels good when someone tells you you've done a good job. Keep that in mind when you're working with your students. There's another one, determine whether particular reinforcers are truly reinforcing for students. The use of reinforcement is far more effective when reinforcers are tailored to individual students. I remember having one student who had a hard time. He had an ADHD and had a hard time sitting still, and he used to perch in his desk all the time. Well, I was afraid he was going to fall out, so what I did was set him some terminal behaviors. So if he sat in his desk, if I looked up and he was sitting at his desk instead of perching on his feet, then, after so long a time of doing that, he would get an art, something from the art table that would be his own. He loved to draw, so that was reinforcing to him. Now, would that be for everybody? No. If you don't enjoy drawing, then probably it's not something you would want to do. All right, make response consequence contingency explicit. Reinforcement is typically more effective when students know exactly what behaviors will lead to which consequences, and make sure that you follow through. When you say you're going to do something, do it. Another one, when you want to encourage the same behavior in a group of students, consider using a group contingency. Some people will disagree with that, but I find some peer pressure, positive peer pressure, can be a good thing. I remember many times my students helped me with Mr. Serial Killer Man by saying, you better be sitting in your seat quiet when she walks in the door, because we're going to get this marble today. We're going to get a marble, which was their positive reinforcement. Once they filled up the jar, they got something special. So they would kind of force the issue with them. I would then get to the door, and yes, he was sitting quietly, and I made a big deal because I was trying to reinforce that behavior, I said, "Oh, Mr. Serial Killer Man, go back and get a marble and put it in the marble jar, and courtesy of you, because of your behavior," in hopes that he would continue, making positive strides. Monitor students' progress. Administer reinforcement consistently until the desired behavior occurs at a desired rate, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. And once a behavior is well established, gradually, but only gradually, wean students from extrinsic reinforcement. We would rather get them to where they are self-regulating, and that way they can kind of have control over how they act, when they act, how they respond, their own reinforcement that comes internally.